You are designed a certain way. Don't worry about following someone. Don't worry about chasing a specific type of pathway. Don't think that there's one teacher or two teachers who are here to show you how to do it. I honestly think that what's important is to embody your own sense of self-confidence and to move at your own pace. We all have a different pace. I actually felt like I didn't have a choice. I felt like if I didn't go on this pathway, I would die. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but that's how it's felt like to me so many times. And that's why I've decided to radically shift my life, because it felt like life or death for me. Why is divinity telling us to make a choice, to step into our truth, to follow our heart? Why is that? That's because the simulation is getting an upgrade. We're starting a new cycle of the simulation. It's changing. The game is changing. We're supposed to become Renaissance men and women. We are supposed to know a little bit about everything. Hi beautiful souls, welcome back to the channel and the podcast Soul Awakening with Shantia. And we have some awesome topics of choice. We're going to talk about imperfection on your spiritual journey, your spiritual seeking, or just you finding yourself and understanding the value of how perfection doesn't exist. But this is, I don't know, it's a loop we get ourselves stuck in, especially me. I find myself getting stuck in a loop of perfection all the time. And I found that I have been able to work through it to the best of my ability. Okay, you might hear some rain ambience in the background. It's coming down today, but the grass is getting all that nourishment. We're also going to talk about the simulation upgrading. That's essentially what is going on in the collective. The simulation is upgrading. And we're also going to be talking about becoming a Renaissance man or woman. This is the energy of Pisces, and this is what we're being taught. Welcome to the Rahu and Aquarius energy. We have entered into it. And it was so funny. On my phone, on my feed was a Google I/O presentation, something going on. And I was like, there it is. The Rahu and Aquarius energy is already taking off. Technology is doing its thing. It's taking off. So we're going to talk about this. I'm going to weave in some of my personal experiences into this storytelling and just what I've been learning for myself. Now, if you're on a spiritual seeking journey here, you're probably going to be called to do less, especially with that Saturn and Pisces energy. That is still a slow energy. Though Rahu has transited into Aquarius, we're still being asked to be very self-reflective, take it easy, take our time, and let doors close in our life, which can be kind of weird. And Earth, universe is just doing what it's thing, and it's always maintaining cosmic order. There is no reason to get in an uproar about anything. It's all a construct, it's all an illusion, and it's all a distraction for you to do the real work, which is to work on yourself. So what we humans do when we don't want to work on ourselves, we just distract ourselves with a ton of other things going on. I actually like to distract myself too. I don't know if you want to call it too much of a distraction, but with me having a lot of free time to myself these days, there's that restlessness, and it does catch up with me. And I might dive into this. PT wrote about this in his piece giTa, and I had originally shot a video about it, but I always just get this feeling sometimes. I'm like, I don't know, I'm not feeling this video anymore. It was nice to talk about it, but now I'm not feeling called to upload it. Okay, so let's get into our first topic, which is imperfection. Going on the journey, trying to learn about yourself, trying to figure things out. We don't know it sometimes, but subconsciously we are aiming for perfection. We're trying to find like this perfect thing, this perfect concoction. And that's a trap, that's a loop that we all get ourselves trapped into, and we have to watch out for, because perfection doesn't exist, and it doesn't exist in any of us humans. It doesn't exist in a guru or a teacher who operates and is stabilized at a higher state of consciousness. It doesn't even exist in them. Every single one of us has a catch-22 with our existence. So even though I'm seeking, I'm on this spiritual journey, it seems ideal, right? It seems like, you're doing the right thing. But the problem with it is usually those of us who are spiritual seekers, or we're called to follow along with this sage way of living, we're still seeking God where spirituality is still a desire, and it's still something we're trying to like gorge ourselves off of. We're trying to feed our appetite on that experience, and we're aiming for some sort of perfection or perfect idea that doesn't exist. So all of us, whether we're seeking money and fame or we're seeking more of a spiritual connection to the divine, we're all seeking that. And the point is just to catch yourself and to remember there's a catch-22 with your design, with everyone's design. There's not a single person who's manifested here on earth who has the perfect idea concept that you're here to follow. They don't have all of the answers. They have a lot of the answers. They don't have all of the answers. And what I've learned from studying under a lot of different people is that by the end of the day, I need to follow through with my own natural path. I'm a millennial. I'm also a digital millennial. I got a TV, camera, phone. I have all of these digital medias and things I'm around. I watch shows and series that are part of the predictive programming. But here's what I've also noticed. Your intention really makes a difference in terms of how it directs your life path. It really determines whether you're able to find some sort of purification or alignment with the truth within yourself or not. It's all determined by your intention. Because there are a lot of people who are feet on the ground, they're grounding, they're connected to Mother Earth, but they're not as intrigued or interested. They're not investigating this ancient knowledge or insight. They're not asking those questions. There are those who are connected to the earth. Let's say they're part of religious cults, right? But they're not functioning in a healthy way, some of them. So there's always a catch-22. And the awareness is what's able to help us break free of this limitation. It's the awareness that ultimately decides how much we're able to grow in our spiritual existence here, our being's existence, how much we're able to learn, the knowledge we're able to acquire. And it doesn't even happen at a rapid pace. I love reading, researching, and getting all of this insight. But by the end of the day, I only retain so much. And I mainly retain what I'm able to apply on the day-to-day basis. And we'll get back to the application of how that works for becoming the Renaissance man or woman in this day and age. Perfectionism doesn't exist. Your birth chart will show you that. You're just not, you can't be perfect. It doesn't matter what you do and how healthy you eat and how well you rest. There's always going to be a bit of a flaw to your system, and it's designed that way. So, for example, people who are very passionate, they can be very passionate about a cause. They could perhaps be good leaders, but sometimes they could be super stubborn and have hot tempers. Yes, something very well associated with a fire sign energy. Or if you have a lot of air in your chart, you might be very connected to consciousness. You might make a very good teacher. You might have a very good ability to communicate these ideas, but maybe you struggle at times with connecting to your own emotions. So there's always a catch-22. Like, the universe inbuilds strengths in you, and with those strengths comes weaknesses, right? So you're just never going to be this perfect balanced scale. But what the universe is trying to help you to do is to obtain balance, right? A healthy balance, to find a balance, to find center, to know how to get back to center. And ultimately, what's unfolding on your pathway is just your journey. So I can't get away from this. As much as I, question this, I'm like, I can't get away from this concept. So in my God Has No Favorites video, in the 2 Paths of Desire video, I was actually thinking about taking that video down because I was reintroduced to this concept that we are not equals, which actually makes perfect sense. When you're looking to get knowledge and advice and wisdom, you always want to get it from someone who's operating at a higher level of consciousness and is stabilizing that. And that's who we go to learn from. If you go to people who know less than you, you devolve just by the natural logic of how things operate and work. But when I really thought about it and I thought about my chart, I'm like, I'm designed this way. My chart has all of these positions that are focused on dissolution and things falling away and the illusion falling away. This is something I actually felt, how they're always saying you have a choice? I actually felt like I didn't have a choice. I felt like if I didn't go on this pathway, I would die. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but that's how it's felt like to me so many times. And that's why I've decided to radically shift my life, because it felt like life or death for me. Now, other people who are more focused on accumulating material stuff and experiences and wealth and whatnot, they would look at me and they would be like, that sounds crazy. Like, that sounds that sounds like the way that you're living. It sounds risky. That sounds like the end of the world for me. I think it just all comes down to, how we're built. And that's why one of my first videos that I uploaded on the channel was, does free will exist? And yes, from our conscious state, it looks like free will exists and there's conscious choice to be made. But at the highest level, the divine will is navigating this whole Shakespearean play and keeping it in perfect cosmic order, balance at all times. So it just had to get me thinking, like, there is no way. If I look at the people around me, they have no interest in asking those questions. Does that make them less of a being than I am, or whatever? And why did their design, how does it work? And I just look at it and I think to myself, honestly, I think part of it is just their design. Sure, maybe they made some free will choices in their past lives to not put in that work and whatever, but I'm just like, there's so many people I know who aren't doing the work or who are avoiding the work. There are people who call themselves spiritual teachers who aren't doing the work. So I'm like, who out here is actually doing the work and is speaking it and sharing that insight? It's very far and few. There are a lot of people, the ones who have the most followers and who are the most popular, they're usually the ones who are like not really doing the work. They're chasing something else. They're chasing some sort of fame. Sometimes I have dreams about people, very random, where I learn their true motivations. And it doesn't make me feel like, oh, this is a bad person. I just always get feelings around people, right? That discernment. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And sometimes it's just revealed to me this person doesn't have as pure intentions to evolve, right? It looks like they're doing something right for society, but they're actually aiming for a different goal. And I can sift through, I can discern what those motivations are. So you are designed a certain way. Don't worry about following someone. Don't worry about chasing a specific type of pathway. Don't think that there's one teacher or two teachers who are here to show you how to do it. I honestly think that what's important is to embody your own sense of self-confidence and to move at your own pace. We all have a different pace. Move at your pace. Embrace your pace. Acknowledge whatever your natural pace is when it comes to your development and your learning. And that's what I found works for me. By the end of the day, I just kind of want to learn about myself, and I'm interested in many different things. I'm not interested in following anyone's system. Like, I like learning about other people's way of being, but by the end of the day, like, I have certain inclinations. There's a reason why I was born a millennial at this time and period. Like, I actually blend in with my generation quite well. Like, I sound like everybody else of my generation, but I might have different interests than I don't know if you want to say peers or just people my age, majority of them here on Earth. My interests might divert a little, but I blend in, and I think that's just the way it is. Generations are born with different inclinations and ways of being. Some people are born to maintain order. What I feel like is I maintain a balance, a bridge between both ideas, ancient and new, modern and old. And I feel like it's right at that point of modern and old that we're actually able to be effective in this world and help people get that information. And my goal is to just find the truth, like speak the truth and kind of liberate people and liberate myself from these boxed ways of existing. I'm like, don't expect that maybe there's a teacher, if they've done all these things and it's worked for them, that it's going to work for you too. Find your own pathway and see what works for you. Find your own ways to apply the guidance and then adapt it. Adapt it to your own existence. Don't try to imitate it step by step and say, okay, this is the right way for things to happen. My guides, spirit source is always telling me, trust myself, trust my own flow, because we all have our own natural flow. Just trust your own flow. Okay, so let's talk about the simulation upgrade. So there's been a lot of talks and discussions about the Saturn and Pisces energy, or just the shifts. Like we're ending a karmic cycle, we're starting anew, right? So Saturn Pisces will be closing out a cycle, and then when it moves into Aries, we're going to be starting a new cycle, a different cycle. And the reason why this new cycle is very evident in Saturn is because Saturn is the slowest moving out of the main planets. It's the slowest one. So it's finally finishing out its transit. I honestly feel like Vedic astrology, I know Western astrology is quite popular right now, but I think Vedic astrology is getting its recognition because people have been talking about new things starting for some time. But I'm telling you, we're still closing out, and it's very evident in the Vedic transits. The Vedic transits kind of show that things are closing out. We aren't quite there yet with officializing things. So what does the simulation upgrade entail? What does the simulation upgrade entail? Now, Howdy Mikalski, I don't think that's how you say his name. I say it like that because that's the way it looks. That's the way that it's spelled, but I don't think that's how it's said. He talked about how the simulation is upgrading, and it's not upgrading for the sake of us like benefiting from it more. If you think about the yogas we're in, some people say we're in Kali Yoga, some people say we're in Dwapara Yoga. Kali Yoga entails that we're still in this dark age. Dwapara Yoga says that we're in ascension age. Things are moving up. Either way, we're ascending. Collectively, we're evolving. So yeah, people aren't really, there's no definitive, this is what it is or this is what it's called. But what I've been picking up, there's like a mixture of things that are happening. Why is it so important for Source to communicate through the tarot, through the messages, that we need to make some sort of choice? Why is divinity telling us to make a choice, to step into our truth, to follow our heart? Why is that? That's because the simulation is getting an upgrade. We're starting a new cycle of the simulation. It's changing. The game is changing. So some people have talked about it like the 3D to the 5D split, and what this is referring to is that how some people are going to choose more of the spiritual pathway. They're going to go in that direction. And some people are going to choose more of the accumulation of material stuff and the illusion. And that's going to keep them in a devolving line. So maybe that's happening. There's going to be more stark contrast showing up in different realities. I've noticed it just for myself, but I'm like, when people wake up, don't they always go through this? Like, isn't it always the same experience? I don't know, something to that. But what I've been picking up is that, yes, I think the simulation is definitely getting an upgrade. I definitely see people falling into their addictions further and deeper, and the illusions deeper, like not trying to wake up, not, nothing. Even with the internet and people are like, oh, exposure and truth. I'm like, that is a distraction. You think, these celebrities' lives and what's going on in their lives behind the scenes is supposed to be a representation of the revealing of truth? I'm like, no, true truth is ancient knowledge that defies time. Has always existed. That's true truth. That's the truth that we're being called to seek. But people are like talking about celebrities and exposure, and it's all about an illusion and distraction. So in that sense, yeah, I do see the split. I see people getting more distracted than ever, and technology is upgrading to become even more of a distraction, right? Now that we're giving more of our tasks to these robots to do, and the bots, the humans are going to be doing less, and supposedly this encourages humans to think less. Now, again, what I said earlier, to me, it doesn't matter. Like, if I'm a millennial who is digital savvy and who likes technology and is around technology and who watches Netflix, this doesn't make me less spiritually evolved or integrated than anyone else. It's actually my intention. Because even though I watch those things, they don't influence me and they don't confuse me. Like, I know I'm watching a Shakespearean play and I know this is supposed to be a distraction, but I like observing it and taking it in. It doesn't affect me energetically. And that's what the evolution and maintaining higher states of consciousness offers you. If you're able to sustain a higher level of consciousness, then those things don't affect you. That density, that dense weight, that heaviness doesn't affect you. The concepts around money and all the concepts that keep you imprisoned into the matrix just don't affect you the same. But nonetheless, I think the simulation is getting an upgrade in the sense that it's going to be harder or different to wake up, right? It's a bit of a different process. Or let's say whatever choice we're making now is going to change the trajectory of our life for the next, 30 years, 40 years, life on earth for 100 years, whatever your next lifetime, it's going to make a huge impact in terms of what direction you go in. But either way, the universe is always going to establish cosmic order in the way that it needs to. So I can't quite grasp this idea that it's, there was a time where things were so peaceful, so, I don't know, to me that's always sounded so idealistic, that there is a perfect time on earth that existed, and that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for this idea of more spirituality and divinity. I don't know. Because I'm connecting to divinity. I don't see other people connecting to divinity. I don't see other people interested at all. Even people who had inclinations towards spirituality. It's still surface level stuff. It's very surface level education. So I think the 3D to 5D split makes more sense. In the sense that some people are ascending, some other people are definitely not ascending. So I think the simulation is getting very tricky in terms of people finding a way to break free of it, because with AI, what's interesting is that it can actually convince you that you're waking up, right? People have made videos of them talking to AI, talking about consciousness and Christ consciousness, and it's like, whoa. But I'm like, you don't need your cell phone to know about Christ consciousness. You could just go out there, sit on the grass, stare at a tree, and you'll know about Christ consciousness. You can just go and observe this earth and you're surrounded by it. So we're surrounded by Christ consciousness. We're surrounded by all the awakening and mystical energy of the universe, but we're still distracted in this illusion. So I think the game of breaking free of the matrix is changing. It's getting some upgrades, it's getting some tweaks of the sort. So this is a really good time to wake up. If you choose to do so, this is a really good time to do it. Okay, so let's talk about our third topic, which is about becoming the Renaissance man or woman. So Renaissance takes me to the energy of Pisces. Renaissance is a revival of like arts and sciences and all of these things. If you're a divine child, you relate to being a Renaissance man or woman. You're interested, your interests are multifaceted. Your interests are varied. You're interested in a little bit of science, a little bit of art, a little bit of cooking, a little bit of cooking science, a little bit of gardening. You're interested in a little bit of everything. And so this is a really good time. Anytime's a good time, but this is a good time to remember to become the Renaissance man and woman that you are actually meant to be. So the Matrix diverts us into this illusion of expertise. Oh, this person's an expert at consciousness. This person is an expert at rockets. This person's an expert at cooking. The funny thing is every single one of those people who are experts are actually not experts at what they do. It's just an illusion. Like people who are all consumed with cooking, I'm willing to bet you they probably have issues with their diets, with their health, or an obsession around it. I don't know. There's probably some sort of obsession around it. People who are obsessed with artistry, like celebrities, artistry, they're so caught in the artistry world, but they're missing like taking care of their body or eating healthy and like grounding in nature. So we're supposed to become Renaissance men and women. We are supposed to know a little bit about everything. And that's what not having a job has taught me. Now that I'm not distracted with the industrial way of living and existing, I am actually working on taking care of myself. I haven't been wearing gel in my hair. This is my hair in its more natural state with just natural products, no chemicals. I've been learning how to eat somewhat healthier, have some more healthier habits. I'm getting back to it. I used to be really good with it. I have since I was a kid, I've learned how to use more natural products on my skin. Like my skin always felt sensitive. And here's the thing. I think I don't have sensitive skin and I'm not like an emotionally sensitive person. I just think my antenna is just more attuned. People say, oh, you're so sensitive. It's just, no, I just feel. I'm not numb. A lot of people are numb. They don't feel the chemicals on their body burning them. Like every time I would put makeup, like my skin is very sensitive to makeup, right? Or I just feel it. I'm sensitive. I'm sensitive as in I'm aware. I'm sensing, sensitive. I'm sensing. I'm feeling the makeup burning my skin. Whereas other people put it on, I'm like, you don't feel that? And then they'll be breaking out and they're like, oh my God, I gotta buy a million other products to like fix my skin. I'm like, you don't feel like when you put that on your skin, you don't feel it burning. I would feel it burning my skin. I would feel food disrupting my digestion and upsetting my stomach. I would, you just feel it. You would feel the lotions burning, like, or just causing weird sensations, or, I was using like a deodorant. I switched to a natural deodorant. I tried natural deodorant before, but I switched to making my own deodorant and experimenting with that. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, it feels good and it works. I'm putting it under there and it's like there's no itchy or burning sensation. This is what happens when you spend time in isolation and rest. So yeah, you can continue to work your jobs and do whatever else you want to do in this world. But I'm telling you, jobs are distractions. They're part of the illusion. They're part of the matrix. And other people are just ready to move at their own pace. I decided to take the leap and it wasn't easy. The first couple years was just about me learning how to navigate the emotional roller coaster of the discomfort of not being able to have that regular paycheck. And then the universe started to take care of me. The universe continued to provide me with food, nourishment, and whatever else I needed. I had home. Like I'm living great. For someone who didn't have that amount of money coming in, like I'm living the good life. And Source kept telling me, trust us. We got you. We got your back. But I'm also working through karma and stuff. So like I have like some second house energy. I have a K2 in Taurus. So yeah, it is part of my learning path to not be as attached to material things, to just not worry about it, to like let it go. So that's why whenever I talk about those messages in those readings, I have experienced that. I know what I'm talking about because I've gone through that stuff many times. Like before it was theorized, like I was talking about it, I was like giving people advice like, yeah, you can do this. And then I did it myself and I was like, dang, this ain't easy. This is hard work, but it is nice. It's so nice to know that the universe has your back. We just don't know that. The matrix sustains and it survives off of fear. The matrix structure, the construct, it exists because of fear. But when people start letting go of fear, now these limitations don't exist. And these man-made laws that and man-made restrictions don't exist. It's like a kid making up rules. They're like, you can't do this. That's what man-made laws are. Someone just went up there and they made these choices. Maybe they thought that they were establishing some sort of healthy boundaries. But, what Saturn in Pisces is teaching us is that boundaries don't necessarily exist. They don't need to exist in the way that we think. And truly, when we rise into higher states of consciousness, we're not worried about everything else affecting us. It doesn't affect you. Have you noticed when you go on that really intentional spiritual seeking journey, even if literally drama is around you, it's your neighbor, it's just like right there, things are happening right in your neighborhood, right around you, you're not affected. You're not affected. Even if all of this stuff is going on in the news and supposedly this is happening and that's happening, do you notice you are not affected? You're not affected the same. Like, you're okay. So that's what Source is always trying to tell us, is like, we're okay. And it is a co-creative partnership. So they're trying to help us align with higher states of consciousness so that we can be in coherence with the universe and we move in flow with it. So where there isn't flow, there's disaster. There's resistance. Where there isn't flow and there isn't coherence, there are people who are experiencing so many chaotic things in their lives because they're not in coherence with the universe. They're not flowing with it. So me not working is me being in coherence with the universe. And I'm just not afraid to tell people, yeah, we're not meant for those jobs that they're creating out there. That's not a like, oh, I'll have this side gig job until I can have enough money. You're never going to have enough money. I know that as someone who worked for well over, I don't know, 12 years. I know what that's like. Like, you're never going to have enough money. It's just, there's always the fear. So you're not trying to build your bank account. You're actually afraid of not having. So you're making money because you're afraid of not having enough. And the universe says, well, you have enough. You have more than enough. You're fine. So once the universe shows you that and you see that, your mind is blown, and you're just thinking to yourself, well, what was I chasing? Exactly. What were you chasing? You weren't chasing anything. You're chasing air. You're chasing a ghost. You're chasing your fear. So become the Renaissance man and woman. Don't leave it up to someone else to take care of your hygiene. You learn what chemicals are going in your body and how to put better things in it. When they get us busy on the hamster wheel, as the lower entities are designed to do, when they get us caught in that hamster wheel, we're so distracted that we don't realize that this chemical we're putting on our skin is burning it. We're so distracted, we don't realize that this thing is burning our body, or this food is disrupting our digestion. We don't feel it. We're so numb to it. And what's crazy is people buy more of that unhealthy stuff and they just keep putting it on, slathering it all over their body, just slathering it on themselves. Not realizing, like, you can really think about it. Think about what you're putting on your body. The tricky part about being a human and existing, though, is that you won't find perfection. Like, there's so many things around us that could supposedly kill us, right? And not be so great for our systems, but we'll still be okay. You know, we can move through it. We're very resilient. But more importantly, our connection to divine is very resilient as well. You know, they help us with that divine protection. So become the Renaissance man or woman. Be the every man, be the every woman. I'm every woman. It's all in me. I can't sing. That's not my key, Whitney. It's not my key. It's not my key. But become well-versed in everything that you're doing and how you take care of yourself. And you'll realize that you are self-sufficient. We are naturally self-sufficient, and we have very good intuitive instincts as far as how to survive. We have very good instincts and how to navigate situations in this world. And you don't have to go out in the woods and be like, I'm going to like commit to this unless you want to, and that's your passion. What's more important is that you're evolving your states of consciousness. And I want to end it on this point. Your states of consciousness is making a world of a difference. The awareness, the intention, where you put your awareness, where you put your attention is making a world of a difference in terms of how you're able to evolve. And honestly, how fast you're able to evolve. It's wherever you're putting your attention. That ultimately determines how you're able to exist in this world. Because there are a lot of people, like I've observed it time and time again, who are seeking, who have been on that seeking journey, and who still don't know. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know. Like, they don't know as much. Let me just say that. They don't know that they're kind of stuck in a different loop. But I think that's okay as well. Like I said, that perfection doesn't quite exist. We all have to experience life the way that we're meant to. And I feel like it's quite pointless to criticize other people and be like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. And I don't think it matters. You know, there are a lot of people, most people in this world are lost, or they're not really tuned into that ancient knowledge, and they're not aware of how they can free themselves. And I think that's fine. You know, I don't know if you want to be like, oh, let's blame the dark entities. The universe always puts things in finds a way to put things into balance. So I think the Shakespearean play is just playing out. You know, we're just in a play, and, you know, some characters are more self-aware than others, and I think that's fine. It's just the way that universe exists. When I look at my chart, when I think about my inclinations, I've always been like this. Even when I wasn't fully conscious of what the heck was going on, it was very embedded into my subconscious, and it was very embedded into my unconscious, where I would have an interest in nature, an interest in the higher power. Like, I got into tarot really late. Like, I didn't really know tarot like that. It was taboo, but once I got into it, I was just like, yeah, this feels like home. a lot of things I was interested in. I took my time to get there, but it didn't change it. Like, I got access to the same information as everybody else. But when I observe society, I just feel like it's unfolding the way that it needs to, because the universe is just always going to find a way to reestablish cosmic order. And for some reason, right now, the divine really wants to connect with us. And in a future video, I'm going to be making part 2 of Rahu in Aquarius and Ketu in Leo, where I briefly talk about the conscious coupling that we're experiencing with the divine. It's like, oh, it's a conscious coupling. I get it. We're connecting with the divine. And what I'm understanding as far as tarot goes, so those messages aren't as literal as people would think. Like, sometimes I get literal things like, oh, maybe someone's going to give you money here or whatever. Like, I kind of pick that up. But the messages aren't as literal as what I'm learning, because we're beings and we're energetic beings. So everything is happening on an energetic level. We just can't see it. And I think that's the dissatisfying part about spirituality. Sometimes we want evidence. I'm like, oh, I want evidence that I'm growing in my spirituality. Am I growing in my consciousness? And so that's why we get caught into that, the deception around and the fixation, obsession around manifesting. It's like, oh, if I manifest this, then it will be a representation that I'm doing well in my journey. And our manifestations are very subtle. You are your first manifestation. So how well you're doing health-wise, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that's your first manifestation. And then second, spirituality and divinity is actually designed to align you with the coherence of the universe. It's not designed to, they're not trying to, divinity, that stronger connection to spirituality and divinity is not designed to give you lots of like material things and wealth. The true wealth is knowledge. So everything is energetic first. And then, materially things may show up. But mainly when you're truly aligned with the coherence of the universe, you're in coherence with the universe, you're following a natural path and you're doing things that feel aligned with you. You feel at peace, you feel content, and you have what you need. You have what you need. So manifestation of things is not a representation of stuff. There have been people, it's so weird when I think about it, that gave me things. And I'm like, I wasn't asking for it. I didn't need it. Like, I wasn't like, oh, but down the line, years later, I needed it. Like, when my computer broke, someone gave me a computer to use temporarily. Yeah, they just gave it to me. They're like, oh, I got a new computer here. I'm realizing as things unfold, like, that's the way abundance shows up for me. I've never been, I'm a homebody, so I don't really care about going fancy places to create memories. I always just felt like it was kind of empty for me, because I'm like, I don't really feel different when I go to like somewhere. I remember when I worked a job, when I cleaned houses, they lived, like, these were nice houses, right? And they would live like in the islands and on the shores by the beach. It was like really pretty. And there were so many times during our break at lunch, oh my God, you would see the beautifulest sunsets and views, and nature looked amazing. And there was a time where wells were moving through the sound where I lived. And we caught, I caught a video of it, but I was like, there's just like things like that would happen in my life. And I'm like, I didn't pay anything. I didn't pay anyone anything for me to be there. I was just there and it was just happening. And there are a lot of moments like that where I'm like, beautiful things are happening. So I really cherish those small moments in my life where I get to have those memories. I guess because I've been unplugged. I've actually been unplugged for a long time from, like, I just have not been interested. And I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought, oh my God, I'm just not motivated in life. I don't know what's wrong with me. Hopefully it'll figure itself out. And it just never happens. I just never got that passion. My parents were just so terrified when they're like, what are you going to do with your degree? What are you going to do with your life? And I would be like, I don't know. Like, I'm not feeling like doing much of anything with it. I tried. Now, I tried to sell my artwork, and I tried to do a lot of different things because I got a BFA, Bachelor's of Fine Arts. And yeah, I tried, but I was just like, something feels off and weird. Like, I'm not interested in painting. I don't know what's going on. And that's because I actually resonate with being a Renaissance woman. I resonated with having many different varied interests in life. And I thought I was floating. You know how you just feel like, oh, I'm so lost in life. And people say that, oh, I feel so lost. I'm like, you're not lost. You're maybe becoming more aware of what you actually are and what this is. Life is just happening. You know, our character is, you're born into certain circumstances, and it kind of becomes, it navigates and it impacts and it creates a ripple effect for your entire life. And you go through I'm going through a very intense deprogramming of my life, of like everything. But before, I was like kind of passively aware. I was like, I'm not interested in becoming what my parents want me to be. I kind of rebelled against that my entire life. I'm not interested in what society wants me to become. I kind of rebelled against that too. I didn't care if I worked low-paying jobs to just kind of get by. Like, I just didn't have this need to be a professional at anything. But I wanted to find my passion. You know, I wanted to find the thing that I loved or that I enjoyed. And communication was that for me. Finding the truth, accessing that. It's a much more peaceful way to exist, is just knowing that, you know, you can flow with life. So yeah, to finish up this update on what's going on in my life, is I am going through that intense deprogramming. I am in a place right now where I'm just like letting those layers shed. Whatever is false, just letting it shed. And this, I want to encourage you, this groundwork needs to be done first. You know, a lot of people want to jump into doing things, and a lot of those people who have, like, let's say they have businesses in like spiritual healing and whatnot, the reason why down the line their businesses don't succeed is because for a lot of them the groundwork wasn't done first. So that's the most important thing. You know, don't feel like you need, like, the making the money, the thing really is a lie. It's a lie, but you have to deprogram yourself, because it goes against not just society, it goes against like how you think things work logically, as far as money, making payments, owing people money, being in debt. It goes against all of that. Like, I'm rebelling against the whole system. I'm not trying to rebel. I'm honestly just following the advice that divinity is giving me, and I'm just applying it. I'm trying to see what happens. I'm experimenting with the whole process. And what they tell me time and time again is that divine laws override man-made laws. Man-made laws are made up. Divine laws are not. Divine laws are what created the universe. Divine laws are what created you. So divine laws are what sustain you, not man-made laws. So if you're worried about being sustained, why don't you practice the divine laws? And in a future video, I'll go into depth about it. I followed them my whole life. I intuitively have probably followed all of the divine laws my entire life, which is why I'm where I'm at. You know, I don't have and I've never really had a ton of drama in my life. It's always been minute. I don't like drama. You know, so I was always trying to find a way how to have the least amount of drama in my life. That has actually been my goal. It's like how to have the quietest, most peaceful, least drama-filled life ever. And so I started embracing certain ways of being and existing, styles of living, habits that created that. And there are so many things I became deprogrammed from, like this idea of popularity and friendships. And I never believed in keeping pets. I was just like, I don't want to keep a pet trapped with me in a house. That never felt natural to me. Even the idea of keeping plants, I'm probably like, oh, I probably should not be keeping plants either anymore. You know, I got a couple and they were cute, but I just didn't really have that natural affinity for certain things. And I followed that. You know, when I lost interest in art and I lost interest in my degree, and I followed that. When I wanted to just like be by myself and just work random jobs just because, I followed that. Until I finally realized I didn't want to work any job. They were all, I wouldn't say horrible, but they were all just like misleading, misdirecting, and just not helping me. They were slowing down. I think they were slowing down the realization that I was here to make. And I'm following my natural trajectory in life. What I found interesting is a lot of us are. I'm willing to bet you that most of you have like either 12th house, 8th house placements, or K2 influences somewhere in your chart. You could have Magha, Mula, or Aswini in your chart as well, like, or Pisces. You might have some really strong spiritual influences that are shifting your life because we're part of the cosmic order. Okay, so the cosmic order is established first, you're second. Okay, you're designed to fit in the cosmic order. So the universe is always going to birth you into the universe at the point in time you're meant to be alive. I felt like I'm meant to be here and exist. I'm that bridge between modern and ancient knowledge. I find a healthy balance between, or existence between both, without compromising my integrity, yet I have this, current identity of existence. I'm able to kind of blend in with my generation as such. But it does take courage. It does take courage. And haven't you ever wanted to be the main character of your life? Haven't you ever wanted to be the main character of your life where you did the very thing that your heart was calling you to do, even when everyone was telling you you couldn't do it? Or your mind was telling you. You don't need anyone to tell you can't do something. Your mind alone, with the programming that has been installed, the software, will tell you, oh, there's no way. And yet there's a way, because I'm living the way. There is a true way. So we're going to finish off on that final message. Don't aim for perfection. Follow your own natural path. The simulation is upgrading. You're designed to upgrade with it. And in that upgrade, you're revealing more of the intuitive gifts, abilities, capabilities of the Renaissance man or woman that exists in you. And that Renaissance man or woman is designed for survival and thrival. It is designed to thrive in this cosmic order. Follow that. Follow your heart. It will not lead you astray. I can guarantee you. Okay, I will see you guys next time for another podcast video. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you got something out of it. I will see you next time. Bye.